Hello. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the tiny room. I'm the Michael of Michaelandbenjaminspodcast. And bloody hell. Look, I'm going to start that again.
That was amazing. It was so aggressive.
I don't think I've ever got that many text messages. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the tiny room. I am the Michael of Michaelandbenjaminspodcast, and I am joined by the man who has been called the spicy, deep-filled burrito of Irish podcasting. It's Benjamin. Say hello, Benjamin.
We only use mild salsa in this Benjamin.
It's mild, not spicy. Oh, sorry.
I'm only spicy when I'm hammered.
Ben, just a little notice. Neither of us, I don't know what you've done, but I haven't had breakfast today.
I've not had breakfast either.
So I don't think the listeners should be surprised if things keep referencing back to food.
Yeah, I've also had one coffee, which means I have caffeine and an empty stomach. And traditionally in Ben world, that means that we're in for quite a ramble.
Yeah, brilliant. So
it's going to be
theme music.
It's going to be a rough one.
Theme music for the podcast. We don't actually have any theme music, but I hope someone will make some up for us. I don't wanna name any names. Rachel, I hope it's Rachel.
Very good. Benjamin.
It's going to make a very dirty joke there, but anyway, go on.
No, leave it alone. Benjamin, we're in what we discussed last year. Is it a bit echoey in here today?
It's a touch echoey.
What's going on?
You've rearranged the action figures again.
No, I haven't. Anyway, Ben, we are in what we experienced last year in the lead up to Infinity's War. We called it the April lull.
Yes.
We're in the vacuum created by a big Marvel movie coming.
Yes, we are the Mad Maxes to the waterless plains of Australia. George Miller is directing the podcast.
It's not that barren though, because Shazam is out next week.
No, we're grand. We'll be fine.
And Captain Marvel was out 2 weeks ago.
And Captain Marvel was out 2 weeks ago.
Basically, there's nothing out this week.
Yeah, there's none.
But Ben, there was a trailer.
There was.
You talk about it.
So, Michael, if I was to tell you about a group of ragtag kids,
yeah,
that get together,
the film It.
To take on a threat, exactly. And then suddenly that threat starts to manifest into their worst fears, Michael.
Yeah. You've described the film It.
I've described the film It. I've also described what is apparently the new trailer for Guillermo del Toro's new movie, which is Scary Stories We Tell in the Dark, where...
you got that wrong, Ben. You practiced it 3 or 4 times before we started.
Yeah, I got it wrong. Yeah.
You got it wrong anyway.
Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark by Guillermo del Toro. It's going to be his new movie. It's a co-directed piece.
Is it? Oh, co-directed.
Co-directed piece. It's a team, Guillermo and some other lad whose name I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
And what it is it's a group of children who find an old book.
Right.
And it turns out that this horror movie is based on a famous book called Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
Right.
And in this, the author and her book are a demented woman who wrote a series of evil stories.
Classic trope, Ben.
And when a story is read, Michael, that manifests itself and attaches itself to the reader.
Oh, like the Necronomicon.
A little bit like the Necronomicon.
Or
messing with forces one doesn't understand. Michael.
Or that great Lovecraftian film with Sam Neill, which name I can't remember of the film.
In space?
No, in New England. Oh. The one which is very thinly based on Stephen King.
Oh.
Mountains of Madness? Mouth of Madness?
The Mouth of Madness. Yeah, that's it. Because it was a knockoff of HP.
Yeah.
Of good old HP. Good old-fashioned, autistic, woman-abusing HP.
I don't think he abused women. I think he was too afraid of them.
I think occasionally.
Like, he abused female characters, for sure. Did he abuse an actual real-life woman?
No,
or was he too afraid of them?
I meant woman-abusing in the sense of...
Oh, just characters.
Of poor old women in the narrative.
Yeah, that's fine, though, Ben. I've seen your fan fiction.
Steady on there now. That fan fiction isn't ready yet. And when it is, it'll be released on the online store. Michael and Benjamin's fanfic. Mainly Benjamin, because Michael doesn't want to be associated with it. No. Just joking. Don't look up that store. We don't have one.
Please don't. Ben, also, does it appear to be a good film? Let me get you back on track here.
Well, it's got all the classic Guillermo tropes. There's a plucky young female lead. Of possibly Latino origin.
Oh,
it's
very
important
good.
To have a little bit of representation in there.
You say that sounding like you disagree with it.
No, I don't. I actually don't in this particular case. There's no fishmen, sadly.
Oh, no.
However, there's a good deal of prosthetic horror as
Right.
opposed to your classic CGI.
I think GDT got the old fucking a fish man out of his system.
Yeah,
It built up during Hellboy 1 and 2.
Yeah,
and
he
then
wanted to see a fishman riding. You
Yeah.
mean Abe Sapien, the sex tape?
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically.
Classic bit of Abe Sapien sticking it to a young one. But yeah, the new one is it. You know, I'm not going to say it's going to change the world.
Abe Sapien sticking it to a young one.
Sticking
the
it to a
worst
young one,
thing I've
Michael.
ever heard.
Sticking it to a young one.
Sorry, go on. I'm just going to deal with that emotionally.
Yeah, look, it's not going to change the world, Michael. It doesn't fill me with joy. I don't like his major horror stuff.
Right.
I'm not a huge Guillermo del Toro fan, as you know.
Yeah.
As you know, I think he overdoes the makeup. I don't think makeup looks that real. I think he's one of these people who lauds it beyond belief. I think decent CGI trumps it 9 out of 10.
Oh, you heathen.
Now, decent CGI,
Oh,
Michael, that's an
that's
important
heathen.
element. But we have a little bit of hybrid, and there's an old ghost there that looks like she's CGI. And I'd say it's probably the Crimson Peaks technique of having someone in a suit and then rendering it in different ways.
I have been watching some of the Marvel movies in high definition 4K.
Rough.
I mean, even Infinity War. There's a scene where they're in a space.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the scene actually where the Guardians first meet the Avengers. And Tony Stark's head is just so fake. They still haven't mastered that, putting Robert Downey Jr.'s head on an Iron Man body.
It should be a lot easier than putting an Iron Man suit on a
On a real
on a
person.
Robert Downey Jr.
It's bizarre. Anyway, Benjamin,
4K is nobody's friend, Michael.
speaking of the Avengers, Ben, have you seen I know this isn't really your cup of tea, but have you seen the box office projections for Avengers?
I think you know it happened.
Benjamin, they're predicting an $850 million opening weekend.
Christ on a bike, Michael. Christ on a bike.
$850 million.
Even me and my plebeian lack of grasp on the box office statistics knows that's nothing to sniff at.
An $850 million movie is a huge movie
Yeah.
in its lifetime.
Yeah.
So this is predicting $850 million opening weekend.
I think you could arguably say this is the cinematic event of the last decade.
The question really is it going to catch Avatar? Is it going to break through brilliant?
So Avatar is so shite.
But Ben, Avatar was a social phenomena.
Phenomena.
That's what it was. It was the breakthrough of 3D, and it was Jimmy C. Everyone loves Jimmy C.
Why though? Jimmy C seems like a bit of a twat.
Yeah, but he loves the underwater and the environments and all that stuff.
But again, Michael, Jimmy C seems like a bit of a twat.
I don't think people go to see films based on what their personal opinion of the director is.
Well, that's clear. Johnny Depp still has a career.
Oh,
But, you know,
Ben, hold on a second,
That's
Ben.
actually been,
That's
I was
been
the
in
one who
the-
told you
that's
that.
been
Yeah,
in
it's
the
been
news
largely debunked. That. So
So it turns out that Amber Heard might have been the
Amber
bad
Heard
egg.
might have been the old abuser. There's video evidence of her physically and verbally abusing him, which is quite
Well,
interesting.
There's also video evidence of you verbally abusing him. That doesn't prove a lot.
Yeah, fair enough. But we've reconciled in between there and then, and he's forgiven me. He still flinches a little bit if I move too quickly, but
Ben,
that's to be expected.
yeah. So 3 billion is the target for this, apparently. 3 hours and 2 minutes long. It has discouraged us from going to see the midnight showing.
We've made a plan.
Yeah.
We've just been like, nope.
No midnight showing for me. We'll
Nah.
talk about that later. Actually, I have a thing. It's very disappointing.
Oh, okay.
Benjamin.
You all right?
Oh yeah, no, it's fine.
You sure?
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about it off air?
Look, Ben, I might not be able to go see it on the opening morning. I might have to wait till the opening evening.
Son of a bitch.
I know, it's weird.
But we had a plan, Michael.
I know. Well, Ben, plans change with
There goes
contact.
my whole diary schedule. Thank you very much.
Stop guilting
Mr.
me.
Michael Bennett.
Stop guilting me. Benjamin, I've been reading some comic books, as we are wont to do around here.
We do like an old comic, Michael.
You know what's quite good?
What?
You remember this time last year, I think it was, Marvel did a new kind of limited series, but they released them weekly. It was called Avengers No Surrender.
Yes.
And it wasn't the greatest thing ever written.
Not going to rock your world.
No, but it was nice to have a weekly 22-issue comic with a kind of developing story.
Yeah, why not?
And it was all very self-contained, and it was quite nice.
Yeah, why
and
not?
this year's one is called No Road Home.
No Road Home, Michael.
And it's also quite good.
I thought that's what the Avengers movie was going to be called when it came out at the end of April.
Yeah, that would have
Would have been a decent.
that would have
Would
worked.
have been a decent. Well, they couldn't have called it Not Us. Bloody Jordan Peele got there first with a positive affirmation.
People love that movie. People love it more than we did.
Yeah,
Um,
that thing's bloody rocketed. We were wrong.
I don't think we were wrong.
I don't think we were wrong, but again, I think you can't ignore the cultural weight of things like this. Yeah, Jordan Peele is just a very popular director. He just does things right, and more importantly, I think he gets representation of black culture right.
Well, Ben, as we said, we did enjoy it.
We did, but it didn't rock our socks off in the same way that Get Out did.
Still got my socks on.
Well, I've firmly got them on. They were on leaving the cinema. There was a moment where they, threatened to leave, but that was
nearly
more out
popped
of
off.
fear. Yeah, that was a fear sock popping, not a joy sock popping. I think Jordan Peele has a lot of weight as a director. I think he
No, I think he's working out. He's cutting back on the carbs.
he represents black culture very well in a way that probably hasn't quite been done before, especially in horror movies. It's probably nice as an African American to go to a film and not see a black person die first. That's probably quite enjoyable, as is the classic trope. So I mean, that's
I'm trying to think who died first in that. Is it the guy who comes out to check on his car?
Guy who comes out to check on his car, decidedly white, not black.
What a poor man. Benjamin.
Yeah.
Anyway, No Road Home. Quite good.
It has a bizarre character in it that I did not expect.
Conan the Barbarian.
Yeah.
It has both Conan the Barbarian and Hercules.
Where did that come from?
Marvel has regained the rights to Conan, and now they've released 2 Conan comics, a Bilquis comic, and his girlfriend, and
thanks.
They've smudged him into the Avengers as well.
I often mix up Conan and John Carter of Mars and Deja Thoris as John Carter's lady friend.
Who played Deja Torres in the John Carter movie? Was it Gemma Atherton?
I want to say it was Olivia Wilde, but I don't think it was.
No, I don't think it
Hang
was.
on, you spin your wheels there.
What am I spinning my wheels about? Yes, Ben, No Road Home. It's doing for Greek mythology what years and years and years of Marvel Comics have done for Norse mythology.
So we're going to see Joe Manganiello directed by Taika Waititi?
Well, Ben, you've segued us nicely into our next section.
You're welcome.
Because, as you know, Avengers Infinity and the End of Infinities is kind of a sandwich. It's sandwiching the end of Iron Man 1 and Avengers Endgame. They sandwich the Marvel Cinematic Universe into what they're calling the Infinity Saga.
Okay.
And then after that, there's going to be a new saga. And he's still on that?
Yeah, I'm still taking a look. No, that's straight to DVD. Lynn Collins.
No.
Who we never heard
that's
from
wrong.
again.
That's definitely wrong.
No, it's Lynn Collins.
No, it isn't.
It is.
You're definitely wrong, Lynn.
I'm not wrong. Look at the top paragraph. I'll have less of that now. I'm not wrong.
What top? Oh yeah, John Carter.
Yeah, and there she is, reflected in other media not under publication history.
Well, welcome to our podcast. Ben reads the Wikipedia out loud.
But you disagreed with me. Look, in the Disney film John Carter, released on March 9, 2012, she's played by Lynn Collins, who also played Moonstar in bloody Wolverine Origins.
Yeah, no good.
No good. Real bad egg, that film. Yeah. But I enjoy now Conan.
Oh, we're not talking about Conan anymore.
We're not,
you just didn't listen to me.
Sorry, I was
we're talking about
researching your mistakes.
Marvel
Zing.
Phase 4 is going to introduce the Eternals.
Oh, it's very close to the Inhumans for me.
It is, isn't it?
I'm uncomfortable with the
idea. It's very risky.
It's very risky.
And there's all sorts of rumours flying around about the Eternals.
Well, there's a big name that's already hitched its wagon.
Angelina Jolie.
And Angelina Jolie.
And Angelina Jolie may well be playing Cersei,
who is an Eternal of some. I'm not up to date on the Eternals. I don't.
They're a bit like the Inhumans.
Neil Gaiman was the man responsible for bringing them back to the Marvel Comics community.
Well,
he gave them an L reboot.
The Eternals, Ben, when I started reading Avengers, it was the 90s, and the Eternals were still kind of sniffing around then.
Having a look.
In particular, Cersei. She was there. She's an energy manipulator. I don't think they can call her Cersei because there's such a famous Cersei in pop culture now. Who's Cersei from Game of Thrones?
Oh, yeah.
And she's also in a similar vein of a a schemy, manipulating lady.
Wagon. She's now a wagon.
Brilliant. But they've also, you see, the Eternals are a weird one in Marvel Comics because they were kind of written as the inspiration for the Greek gods. But at the same time in Marvel Comics, the Greek gods exist.
That's rough. That's a
bit
competitive fucking origin story.
It's a bit self-contradicting. Like one of the main Eternals is Icarus.
What?
Yeah, and Gilgamesh is an Eternal.
Oh, lads.
And Hercules isn't an Eternal. He's a Greek god.
Lads.
But Hercules and Gilgamesh are often considered the same person. That's why, Ben, if you remember when we wrote our little Hercules MCU film about a year and a half ago.
Way back in the day, if you go back and check it out there.
It's very echoey. We had
Sorry.
We had Hercules and Gilgamesh.
Yeah, we put him in there because he was in that great little mini-series that you put me onto.
Yeah,
where
Hercules was kind of a norm.
Yeah,
and he got guns and stuff.
He was sticking nail guns in his backs and taking out the monsters.
Yeah, but now, Ben, it looks like Hercules is going to be the main character of the Eternals movie. He's going to be in Eternals rather than a Greek gods. I don't think it'll be John Manganiello. They proposed someone. I can't remember who it was though. It was a good call though. Maybe a bit small.
Bit small.
Yeah.
Are you going to play Hercules in an Eternals movie?
I don't think I would look the part, to be honest.
We can give you an old... Sure, look, if he's an Eternal, we can change it as much as we want.
Gingy B. Hey, wait a minute, what are you calling me a bit small? You son of a bitch.
Got him.
Yeah, but... yeah, it's a weird one. There's loads of rumours spinning around the place, but look, that's...
Yeah, Angelina Jolie was a big name to get it.
She
hasn't worked in a while.
a gay lead is what they're saying, so they might be making Hercules gay rather than a bisexualist.
He did a lot of wrestling. Wrestling.
Hey, what's wrong with wrestling?
A lot of wrestling with lads.
Nothing wrong with that.
Well, you see, you could play him in a movie. You see?
Ben, have you read any comics yet?
Yeah, I did. I took a look at... I dipped my toe in... When I read Conan on your weekly comics review on a Wednesday on our Instagram, go check out our Instagram, give us a follow there, where you can see Mix Weekly.
Good plug, Ben. Good
roundup.
At Michaelandbenjaminspodcast.
I went to try and find the Avengers comic that you were referencing, not realising, Mickle, that it was a sub-series. And now No Road Home. I didn't realise it had its own specific title, so I picked up the regular Avengers with vampires.
Yeah, loads of vampires.
Very, very convoluted stuff.
Well, I've been following it from the beginning, so I didn't find it too convoluted.
Dracula seems to be such a big character again for the Marvel Universe. Their big silver-haired Dracula, which is basically a rip-off of Castlevania Dracula.
He's very similar to Castlevania Dracula.
Yeah.
He's closer to Castlevania Alucard.
I always get mixed up between... Alucard's the son of Dracula in Castlevania.
It's Dracula
lore.
backwards.
Yeah. Did you watch the Netflix anime on that?
I did.
Yeah, I watched the first one.
I didn't like the style of it.
Yeah, it's a bit morose.
Yeah.
Bit grim. Lacked any kind of real charm.
Yeah.
But look, listen, we aren't talking about that. We're talking about comics. So yeah, there were some vampires in that. Blade was going around chopping some heads off.
Yeah.
There was a Nazi-looking vampire.
Yeah, the sexy lady.
I enjoyed that. It was a sexy lady vampire.
That's her. No, she's... Oh, you're talking about the Colonel.
Yeah, I'm talking about the Colonel.
The Colonel, I thought was interesting that he had cultivated an offshoot of Swamp Thing.
Yeah, that was bizarre. And he wore it as a battle...
Yeah, because
boy thing is what he called it.
Yeah, because
which I thought was weird.
Because it's Swamp Thing, because he's a plant elemental and he can produce wooden stakes. So he was his ammo feeder for his stake Gatling gun.
It's pretty clever.
Yeah, so I thought that was pretty funny.
It's pretty clever, but then Blade gets him.
Spoilers, obviously.
Well.
And Ben, he turned out to be Dracula's son in a great twist.
I mean, that's a classic L twist, isn't it? You were my son all along.
And there is a sexy female. There's a leather-clad female, sexy evil henchwoman, which, as you know, Ben, I'm into.
It's your whole thing.
This one's a Nazi. Not so much into that.
Not so much into that. That hasn't traditionally been your thing.
But she doesn't die.
No, they go off to Chernobyl. I really enjoy the Red Guard. I quite enjoy the weird Russian counterpart.
Yeah, there's a surfeit of superhero teams in that series.
Really?
There was the vampire surfeit. Like a big load of them.
A surplus with a little extra?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's the Avengers, obviously.
Okay.
There are the Winter Guard.
Is it the Winter Guard? Or it could be the Winter Guard. Sorry,
there's the Winter Guard, including the mysterious Red Widow. Who will it turn out to be? Who will it be? I don't know. Probably a clone of Natasha Romanoff.
Something like that. Yeah, classic clone.
Who will it be? I don't know.
Spider-Man's clone from the Clone Saga.
Ben Reilly.
Ben Reilly.
There is the... What are they called? The Defenders of the Deep?
The Defenders of the Deep, who again are very enjoyable. I like ridiculous super teams, though.
Yeah, Namor's superheroes. And then there's the Vampire team.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams.
Yeah, loads of teams all running around fighting each other.
I enjoy the Bear most.
Yeah, he's good.
He's quite enjoyably alcoholic and just a dick.
He wants to eat a Dracula.
Yeah, wants to eat an El Dracula.
But yeah, it's pretty good, Ben.
Yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it. Very, very convoluted, but obviously I haven't been following it from the start, so that's why that was convoluted.
And Blade's going to stick around.
Yeah, he's going to be... We're getting another Wesley Snipes movie? Come on.
I hope not.
Friend of the podcast, Pulsey Cosplay, can... Pulley's Cosplay can...
Play him.
Can play him. Did a damn good job of... what's his name?
Deadshot?
No, you did a great job of Deadshot, but Phoenix...
Simon Phoenix,
thank you. The other comic that I read this week, Michael,
yes,
in a seamless segue that definitely wasn't abrupt, is Little Bird. Little Bird is a new Image comic. It's now dystopia, Michael. We love it, dystopia.
Ben, do you read Image Comics because the intern from Image Comics follows us on Instagram?
Gives us an L shout out, yeah. Look, it's a hard job. Interns don't get paid much in the States.
No, they don't get paid at all, Ben. That's what internships are.
Yeah. It's slave labour for advertising.
Yeah.
So that sucks. But if you're listening,
intern comics,
how are you doing? Give us your name at some point. We can probably report it to a Human Rights Watch or something like that. I just enjoy Image Comics in general. I think they do more interesting stuff. The art is always a little bit more out there, and they give it a better go.
It's just really your cup of soup.
It's my cup of soup, Michael. It's my cup of soup. That isn't a butchered idiom at all. Little Bird is very good. It's a dystopian society. There's a theocracy. They're the baddies.
Of course they are, yeah.
Of course they are. Religion is bad. Boo. Unless the Pope is listening, in which case, if you were the Vatican want to sponsor us...
Or the Pope's intern.
If you were the Vatican wants to sponsor us, actually stay away from it. You're a bit mired in controversy lately. We'd rather not have anything to do with that.
Yeah.
But there's a theocracy led by an kind of Westboro Baptist Church lunatic
racist
kind of character. Yeah, classic, you know. There's also a freedom force led by a powerful woman. The daughter of this powerful woman is called Little Bird. She's now a ninja type character, and she has to free someone at the beginning of this comic series. It's a 5-issue mini series. There we go, nailed it. And it looks very good, Michael. Very, very clean, a bit out there, a bit wacky. But that's what we like.
Is it finished, Ben?
There's a big lumberjack hero. No, this is issue 1. So if you would like to read along with us, listeners, Michael, let us know what you thought of Little Bird #1 if you're a big comic book fan. I enjoyed it a lot.
Cool.
Very bloody, very gory, very ultra-violent.
Ben, speaking of powerful women, today is Mother's Day.
It is.
Let's completely unexpectedly, and I haven't even written anything down. Let's treat our listeners with us spinning our wheels and coming up with the top 10 mothers in pop culture.
Sure.
Quick go.
Martha Wayne.
I disagree.
Probably the most significant one in terms of the fact that she's not around much.
Yeah, that's true. Martha Kent.
Martha.
Where
did you say her name?
Did you read the rumor recently that Zack Snyder's original script had Martha Kent and Martha Wayne being the same person?
Woman? Yeah,
what a son of a bitch.
Toolbag. He's such a toolbag.
I don't like either of those mothers, Ben, because they're not real characters.
They're
not just
real
mothers.
They're straw mothers or cardboard mothers or whichever you prefer.
Joyce Summers from Buffy was a good one.
Joyce Summers. Oh, that was the curly-haired one.
Yeah.
From the Buffy stuff.
But then she got fridged.
Yeah, she got fridged hard.
We're really struggling here to come up with good mothers.
Jessica Jones. Beat alcoholism to become a decent mother to her daughter.
And that's actually a good one.
An interracial relationship, that's 10 points on a board somewhere.
Not in good mothering, but I see what you're saying.
Somewhere.
That is a good one, Ben. Good shout. What's Alana from Saga is probably one of the best ones.
Oh, that is a great example.
But she goes through a bad patch.
I would also argue that the grandmother in Saga is probably a great example of motherhood, adapting motherhood, changing generational styles, overcoming culture in favour of love of family.
Very good point, Ben.
Oh, it's almost like I wrote this. I fucking love
you
tropes,
Michael.
I love tropes.
The alien queen.
Oh, great mother. Great mother. Great example. Ripley is probably a good example of a terrible mother in pop culture because she just goes and gets another kid when hers when Hearst passes away on an Earth eons away.
Although, if you follow the kind of secondary canon of Alien,
I don't.
her daughter goes to try and find her.
Oh God,
That's
sad.
Yeah, and then she
That's
doesn't
very
find
sad. Another one for bad egg mother is probably the mother from Lock and Key who doesn't listen to her children until it's too late.
Yeah, but she had a very traumatic experience, and she's mired in alcoholism, and she comes good at the end and saves the day.
Sure, we'll give it to her.
I mean, let's say more so than Martha Kent or Martha Wayne, she is a character.
Yeah, she exists.
She exists. She has an arc.
She has a bit of an arc.
She's not just a cardboard
enough.
mother, which
That's
is
fair
a
enough.
good term that you've coined, I think.
We
We have to come up with two more, Ben, before we can move on and talk about something else.
Mother from Invincible puts up with a lot of shit.
Oh, yeah.
That
That is a good one. She's essentially...
love of her life becomes the villain of the planet.
Yeah, but then he turns out all right.
But yeah, that's such a rigmarole for him. Like
She does...
that's an up and down.
What about Aunt May?
Aunt May, classic mother figure.
Yeah.
Marissa Tomei would. Anything else there?
But she, I think, was a bit of a cardboard mother. But she was going to be a sexy spy lady in the Sony.
Was she?
Yeah, they were going to do a prequel where she was a sexy spy.
Thank God they didn't do that. Thank God. They are making an Alfred prequel series.
Yeah, no, I'm not
That's
watching it.
that's
I
gonna
don't
be
care.
that's gonna be a bag of Mickeys.
Who else
And not
is-
the good kind. That's
No.
the bag of bad Mickeys. It's a bicky.
Who else is
any
a
other
good
ones?
mother, Ben? Captain Marvel was her own mother.
Gaia, mother of our planet.
She's a good one. Good shout, yeah.
Um,
Terrible mother, Hera from Hercules.
awful mother.
Yeah.
She's very abusive.
Yeah. Brainwashed her.
Anybody else there?
Any good mothers?
Any other good mothers?
Can't think of any good mothers.
Listeners, if you think of any good mothers in pop culture, do let us know. We
Who's
seem
the
to be
best mother, Ben, in pop culture?
the
That's what we want
best
to know.
mother in pop. Yeah, who's the best mother in pop culture? Looking around the tiny rooms, a lot of male-dominated stuff. Is the patriarchy real?
No, I don't think so. But
Oh,
look,
right,
that's
okay.
a whole other topic.
It's a whole other
But
topic.
there are a lot of mothers in things who exist to be a mother figure and then die.
Yeah, they get fridged a lot.
Thor's
We-
mother
we
in
fridge
Thor
a
the
lot of
Dark
mother.
World.
We shred a lot of cardboard mothers. That's
Cardboard. I like that term, Ben. Cardboard
yeah,
mothers.
Cardboard mothers.
They're just cutouts of people. They're not
Yeah,
real
just
people.
Cut out of people. They're not. They don't really have a lot going on.
Anyway, Ben.
I think you probably have an easier time finding bad mothers in pop culture who let their children do incredibly dangerous things.
Yeah, or like things where the mother is in the series Hack Slash. Her mother is the villain that inspires her to become a monster hunter.
A monster. Yes, I mean,
In Supernatural, their mother turns out to be a monster hunter.
yeah. I mean, but that's the convoluted world of
time travel
Supernatural,
and,
which is
yeah.
going to end in season 15.
Good.
It's all over, lads. It's all
I wish
over.
they would time travel back and end at season 5.
She was fridged pretty hard too. She was hell fridged.
Yeah, but then
Fridged.
came back, didn't she?
She
Or
did, yeah, she's
didn't
back
she
now.
back, or she's not
now.
back, or she
but it's an
isn't?
alternate version of her. It's a quantum realm version of her. What I love about Supernatural is as it went along
Yeah.
and realized that it just slowly closed off every avenue it had, it was like, well, what's the next kind of pop culture thing we do? Quantum realms, other dimensions with the same characters and
Did they
slight
do that?
changes. Oh yeah, that's the whole thing.
Oh, okay.
That's how their mother is back in the thing. She's a version of their mother from an alternate reality who sticks around because her son's died in.
Oh,
There's-
classic. That is a classic.
There's one reality where the lads died and they don't stop the apocalypse. So the apocalypse happened in one version of reality, and the mother is still alive in that one.
I can't think of any other interesting mothers, Ben.
That's my mother. She's real good egg. We have a tangential grip on. I'm sure your mother's a lovely woman as well.
Sorry.
She
doesn't listen to this, so
Safe.
we're safe.
Safe as houses. My mother says she doesn't listen to this, but I reckon she does because
Yeah, keeps an
occasionally
eye
she
on
looks at me with sheer disappointment.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Benjamin, speaking of looking at things with sheer disappointment,
Yeah.
you've been browsing the website entertainment.ie.
Yeah, fucking hell. So, for anyone who isn't Irish,
Most people. No, about half the people.
about half the people, the Irish media is a little bit slow. They don't always get the stuff. The two main culprits that I am not a fan
You should
of.
you should watch Ortiz's morning show video from Dublin Comic Con. It's hilarious.
Is that-
Actually, no, you shouldn't watch it. Don't give them
Is
the
that-
views.
yeah, go watch ours.
Sorry,
Generally
I've
speaking,
kinda-
you
I've
froze
broken
my
your
brain.
rhythm there.
It didn't compute. Generally speaking, the two that most kind of garner my wrath over time are entertainment.ie
Yeah.
and Joe.ie, because they love to make an announcement of stuff that's very obvious to anybody else. For example, one I remember from Joe.ie is, it turns out that Deadshot from Suicide Squad is white in the comics. And this was like about 2 days before Suicide Squad came out, and the rest of the world kind of went, "That's it, lads. Well done.
Well spotted.
Done. Good lads." Obviously, someone realised that there was a movie deadline for a superhero thing. Those are popular. Get the intern to check it out there quickly. And then, oh my God, that's crazy. He used to be white.
But look, it's very easy for us, existing as we do in our niche bubble,
I know,
to scoff at these things. But, there's probably things that we see that we look at an article and go, "Oh, that is interesting," and then people in that niche are like, "Yeah, shut up."
Not on entertainment.ie or joe.ie though.
Yeah.
But the one that made me giggle today, as I was researching for our topic of the day, Michael, is it turns out that Shazam, the new movie from DC, was originally called Captain Marvel.
The movie.
The character itself, and I was like, "Oh, well done, lads." That's a fairly well-known fact in the nerd community, but I suppose you're right, Michael. As an elitist nerd snob, I probably wouldn't have considered the thoughts of the normal folks.
A lot of people probably don't know that,
A
Ben.
lot of people probably don't know that, but I quite enjoyed scoffing at entertainment.ie.
So, Ben, that has led us down the path, which has resulted really finally in me asking you, what even is Captain Marvel already?
Well, it depends on which one you're talking about, Michael.
Well, let's do chronologically.
Okay, chronologically speaking, then Captain Marvel is Billy Batson. Billy B.
I
Billy
love
B.
how Digimon Hansu says his name. Billy Batson.
I love how Digimon Hansu says anything.
Yeah, he's very
Digimon
good.
Hansu is in both Captain Marvel movies.
He is.
Yeah.
And he is part of probably the only genuinely kind of funny bit of dialogue in the Captain Marvel movie.
It's fucking brilliant.
Where he is.
That's quite strange because you're objectively attractive.
Oh, yes, thank you.
It's very good.
Very
You're
good.
objectively attractive. I often hear you say that to me, Michael, and I do appreciate it. Thank you very much.
You've had a haircut today, Ben. I think you're looking sharp.
Making an effort. But Michael trims his beard every time we do a podcast.
You were starting to veer into looking a bit like a tennis ball.
I did look like a tennis ball.
Yeah,
like a mousy haired tennis ball.
You never want to go mono length on a short haircut.
That's not a good idea. You gotta zip it all down.
It's like a hairy tennis
zip
ball.
it all down.
What are we talking about?
Captain Marvel. Billy Batson is
Billy Batson.
Billy Batson. Initially belonged to a company called Fawcett Comics and made his debut in 1939.
That's so long ago.
Yeah, C.C. Parker was the creator, and C.C. Evans and Bill Parker. Sorry, C.C. Evans and Bill Parker were the two creators that came up with them. And he's when I think of the parodies that make fun of superheroes, as good, wholesome, clean things. And you see them parodied a lot now in the kind of thing that Alan Moore would love to deconstruct.
Yeah.
He'd love to have one of those characters murdered horribly or possibly raped.
Yeah, doesn't Alan Moore's character, Tom Strong, look a little bit like...
Yeah, he's not unlike Captain Marvel. It's a big chiseled jawline, the Jerry curl of hair. Not Jerry curls, no.
Wow,
Cowslick? Cowslick? Yeah, it's the little curl of hair at the front
Superman
of the head.
Curl.
Yeah, in the fringe. And big bright colours, garish. Like the colour palette for Captain Marvel, Fawcett Comics edition, is yellow and red. And he was very popular. He was part of the Marvel family, and he was Captain Marvel. And the Marvel family is unusual, obviously, because there's another company called Marvel.
And there wasn't then, though, Ben.
There wasn't then. No, Fawcett Comics was one of the originals. Way back in time, before the big two emerged, DC and Marvel, there were lots of different comics. There were timely comics. There were astonishing comics. There were detective comics before there were DC comics. There were action comics.
I think they were National Comics, weren't they?
Yeah, National Comics. And Fawcett Comics was one of those companies.
Here's the thing, Ben. They call that period of comics the golden age of comic books. I had a read of some of them. Holy fuck, they're fucking terrible.
They're terrible. I think the people that call it the golden age just like all the bright colours and kind of when all these heroes were introduced.
It is the golden age of comic in so much as the creativity was there, but they were just throwing so many ideas out, and some of them were bound to stick.
It was like the pasta method for testing your pasta. If you fling pasta at the wall and it sticks, you got something.
Ben, I am a fan of Warhammer, as you know.
Yes, you are.
And the 80s were that for Warhammer. If you go back to the 80s Warhammer, it's objectively not good stuff. But there's so many little nuggets of great ideas.
Yeah,
that get expanded on.
That grew.
You know when the true golden age of comics is, Ben? Now.
Now is the true age of golden comics. Absolutely. Golden age of comics is right now. We have representation at an all-time high. We don't have any weird racial stereotyping.
None. There's still some.
Yeah, okay, fair. You know, we still have a couple of issues, but we don't have any.
Have you ever seen the comics character Banshee?
Oh God, it doesn't count when you racially stereotype white people. It doesn't.
Let's make it through the rest of the day without talking about racial stereotypes.
Sorry, less of the racial stereotypes. Speaking of racial stereotypes, so Fawcett Comics was a whole thing, and Billy Batson was given powers by the wizard Shazam. So Shazam was originally the name of the wizard. And this will give you a rough idea. I've said the word wizard 3 times when describing this character. This is how wholesome he is. He's a good, pure-hearted kid. He's chosen to be the champion of the powers of Shazam.
Here's the thing, Ben. I read the first issue. He's not a good, cold-hearted kid. He's just kind of a kid who comes along. He lives in the subway and stuff. The good-hearted thing seems a slight retcon.
Oh, okay. Oh, there we go. Okay, you got me. Okay, fair enough. So he was in a subway. That subway comes along later on. It's in the trailer. Love an L subway thing. Ever since The Matrix, I love an L subway going strange places.
Yeah, or Crazy Jane.
Oh, Crazy Jane.
Ben,
what a woman.
Focus up.
What a woman.
Focus up, Ben.
63 different personalities, one woman. The fun you could have. Huh?
Ben, stop it.
What a woman.
Ben, focus up. Come on.
If you or Crazy Jane would like to get in touch with No, I'm kidding. No, I'm seriously not actually. If she wants to get
Ben! Focus up.
Anyway, as I was saying, he's given powers. Shazam is actually an acronym.
Yeah.
Shazam is, I've forgotten the first one.
The Wisdom of Solomon.
The Wisdom of Solomon. The Strength of Hercules.
Yeah.
See, this is where it gets unusual because Atlas is the A in Shazam.
Yeah.
And he's just strong. That's what he is.
Well, no, from Atlas, Ben, he gets his invulnerability, his endurance.
Does he not get that from Achilles?
No.
What does he get from Achilles?
From Achilles, he gets a heel.
Z is for Zeus and M is for Mercury.
Wait, get back there. Say Z. Say Z now.
Z is for
Yeah.
Z is for Zeus.
Yes.
The other A is for Achilles and M is for Mercury.
Mick. Yeah, Mick.
Mick.
Yeah,
It's
the speed of Mick.
Yeah. The speed of Mick. Look, he gets his speed from Mercury. He gets his invulnerability from Achilles. It has to be that way.
No, it's not.
He gets the might of Zeus.
No, he gets the lightning from Zeus.
He gets the Atlas of
Strength
Atlas.
of Hercules.
He gets the shoulders of Atlas for aesthetics. He gets the strength of Hercules. He gets the wisdom of Solomon.
Aesthetics.
Which does...
It's one of my favourite words. Millennials and the word aesthetics. It's just brilliant. I see a lot of YouTube videos where Americans use aesthetic as an adjective.
It comes from Ziz.
What's
It
this?
comes from Ziz, the steroid-pumped icon of mid-2000s bodybuilding.
Really? And he would say that looks very aesthetic.
He places an emphasis on aesthetic. That's what his
Things
whole
looking
thing
aesthetic.
was, to refine your aesthetic. So he didn't care about functional strength at all.
No, a lot of bodybuilders don't care, but that's not what I'm saying. You're still using aesthetic as an adjective.
Oh, did I use it as an adjective?
Well, that's what... But
I said for his aesthetic.
no, sorry, that's a noun. Yeah, that's a noun.
Is that okay?
But no, the millennials YouTube videos, they use it as an adjective. They say, I really like this. It's very aesthetic.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
And it bothers me a lot.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Why?
Sorry, going back to where we were.
I told you we were hungry.
It's quite unusual to see the Wisdom of Solomon. The Wisdom of Solomon is always the one that gets me.
It's a bit religious.
He's quite... Well, there's a lot of that's quite... religious. And coming back to the wizard Shazam, he lives in the Rock of Eternity. The Rock of Eternity is the house of all magic in the DC universe. That comes as a result of a lot of retconning as well. Billy Batson and Shazam have a lot of retconning in their history. It's very hard to keep track of the history of Shazam. But the Rock of Eternity houses the 7 deadly sins of man. In the initial run, which is exceptionally religious. That's later retcon to the 7 weaknesses of man. Greed, envy, sloth, all those things. It's just sins by another name, Michael. And that's very unusual to see. But anyway, he gets his powers. He goes around saving the day. He's magic-based. So he's a magic-based Superman. That's what he is. He's a perfect counterpart for Superman, except he's not an alien. He's a magically powered fella. What are you giggling about?
Because you said alien.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
So I like that word.
He's a magically powered fella. Like I said, very convoluted history. He ran until about 1955. And then he was acquired
from Achilles. He got indomitable will.
Oh, for fuck's sake, that's shite. Anyway, moving back to where I was. Wow. He was kind of packaged away and sent away. He was acquired by DC, and DC did an streamlining of what they got from Fawcett Comics, and he disappeared.
You simplified that a bit there, Ben, because he wasn't really packaged away so much as DC launched a lawsuit against him for infringing on Superman.
Yeah.
And they kind of won, but kind of didn't win.
It was National Comics at the time, I think, that...
Anyway, sorry. Pardon my sneeze.
Yeah.
So he got put on the back burner.
Yeah.
And then DC rented him, essentially.
Really? I didn't know that.
And then bought him, finally.
How interesting.
Yeah, so he only came back in the 70s.
Yeah, he came back in the 70s.
But Ben, what had happened in the meantime?
What do you mean what had happened in the meantime?
What had Marvel done?
Oh, Marvel had only gone and created their bloody Captain Marvel, and they thought it was fine and howdy-doody dandy, because he was bloody gone. He was not... Billy Batson wasn't. And then we got the male Captain Marvel of the Marvel Universe, Marvel.
Yeah, Ben, I read some of those comics.
Played by a woman in the Captain Marvel film.
Yeah, Ben, I read some of those comics. Not good.
Is it Jim Starlin? Is it
kind of. The problem is, it was so very obviously thrown together to get the name.
Yeah, just to lock that shit down.
Yeah, because in the first few issues, he's just a normal Kree man in a spacesuit. He's kind of like Yon-Rogg from the film Captain Marvel.
That's why we all thought it was going to be him.
Yeah, so he's just a normal man with a gun, and he has no powers above and beyond what his supersuit gives him, and the fact that he's a Kree, so he's a bit strong and a bit fast.
He's got an L leg up,
and he's in that horrific green costume. With the kind of Jupiter-y thing on the front of it. It's not good. It's not good. It's not a good comic. People didn't like it. So people didn't like it. So they said, right, well, fuck this. So let's make him a bit more like Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Like this is like, okay, we have to make... So they sent him off. He gets a huge boost. Too much of a boost.
A power boost.
And he becomes kind of a Marvel... like a DC level Marvel character. He can teleport instantly anywhere in the universe, and he can fly around the place leaving sparkly trails and stuff. He gets a new costume, and then they go, oh, he's not quite enough like Marvel, like Captain Marvel. Let's borrow the whole idea of two people sharing a character. So right, so you have Billy Batson, and he says Shazam, and he becomes Shazam.
Yeah.
So they said, let's take that and use that idea as well. So Captain Marvel gets banished to... Do you know this?
No, I don't.
Captain Marvel gets banished...
I'm quite enjoying this.
He gets banished to the negative zone, right?
That's a Superman thing.
No, that's
Phantom Zone.
Phantom Zone.
But it's the same thing.
He gets banished to the negative zone.
That's the Fantastic Four thing.
Yeah, the negative universe. And the only way he can escape out of the negative zone is by finding these pair of linked negabands. What's that called?
Look. I love an old negaband.
Right? And then he bangs the negabands together. Or whoever's in the positive universe bangs the negabands together. And then swaps places in the negative universe and the positive universe.
Okay.
And who finds the negabands, Ben? Only Rick Jones.
Rick Jones?
Superhero's eternal sidekick.
Poor guy.
So Rick Jones gets them. And then Rick Jones and Captain Marvel have a Billy Batson, Captain Marvel-esque relationship.
It's stupid.
Well, the thing about Captain Marvel and Billy Batson is you're never really entirely sure if they're different people.
They're not. It's supposed... Well, this again is retconning.
Yeah.
In the initial run, I think he's just a champion of Shazam and he kind of knows what he's at. But he's later retconned to be just an older Billy Batson. This is where I find it interesting with regards to... Sorry, this is a tiny segue. We'll come back to the other Captain Marvel. The wisdom of Solomon is very rarely represented in any iteration of Billy Batson post 1990s. He's a child in a, and it makes for a much more interesting character. One of my favorite depictions of Shazam, Billy Batson.
Let's call him Captain Marvel.
Well, they've stopped using it, so we may as well just call him Billy Batson.
Okay.
But one of my favorite depictions of that is in Young Justice, the cartoon series, where he is Billy Batson, but he's going through puberty. And when they're partnering up teams in the Justice League, because he's such a heavy hitter, he's in the Justice League.
Yeah, because he's Superman level.
And Batman is giving out partners for assignments, and Power Girl hasn't been picked. He goes, I'll go with Power Girl. I'll go. And she's like, oh, okay. And she thinks it's perfectly fine. And then she realizes Batman knows that he's only a kid. He's figured all this out, but he needs that heavy hitter on the team. He's one of the few characters that goes toe-to-toe with Superman on a regular basis and comes out on top. Because Superman's one true vulnerability is not kryptonite for the most part. It's magic.
It is also kryptonite.
Doesn't do well with an L magic.
Although I don't like that about Superman. When that weakness was come up with, it was that he had no specific vulnerability to magic. And over time, he had no specific defense to magic.
Yeah.
And over time, it's become, like, let's say if you summon magical lightning and it hits Superman, it's still just lightning.
No, it was magic lightning, Mick.
Yeah. Fuck. Anyway.
But you get I see your point. It still has to be a natural force that he should be able to withstand.
Yeah, exactly. You can defend the lightning. So anyway, or if you make a magical sword, but it's, at the end of the day, it's just a sword. Why is that going to cut him?
A magic sword.
Yeah, shut up.
They're MacGuffining you.
There's a couple of, speaking of the whole, is Billy Batson or not? Did you
Billy
read?
Batson.
I think you're overdoing it a little bit.
Probably.
Did you read seminal comic book Kingdom Come?
Seminal comic book.
Seminal.
Of course I did. Alex Ross's bloody
magnum opus.
Alex Ross butters my biscuit something fierce.
Does he? I like that he's a bald old man in a suit.
And he does very well as a bald old man in a suit. One of the first big comic book purchases that I ever made was The Art of Alex Ross. I was given a gift voucher to Eason's. Eason. Yeah. And I went to one of their locations and I went to the comic book section and I found this thing and I fell in love with the art and I purchased that. So
it's very good. I liked his series Marvels.
Yeah, he's very good he loves a mythic version of a hero. And he builds us up. But Kingdom Come is probably the least edgy, most successful deconstruction of what it is to be a hero, to my mind, from that 90s ream of deconstruction era stuff. Your Watchmen, what happened in the Marvel one? There was one in the Marvel one as well. I can't remember what it was. I think it might have been the Night series launching at one point. And they kind of made a bunch of anti-heroes and stuff like that. But anyway, we were experimenting with this field of, are heroes really all they're cracked up to be? What would it like to be a real hero? And he came along with Kingdom Come, which is an alternate dimension version of the DC universe. And one of their Elseworld series. It's beautifully illustrated, stunningly put together. And basically the bad guys win. I think Mark Miller read this in the early 90s and just went, I'll just do that from now on.
Ben, we're talking about Captain Marvel.
Sorry, yeah,
You've gone off onto an ad. An ad for the book Kingdom Come.
Kingdom Come is great. Great representation of Shazam.
Yeah, Billy Batson.
He is Lex Luthor's right-hand man.
Yes, but it's Billy Batson.
But it's Billy Batson all along.
But he looks like Shazam.
Because he grew into him.
Exactly. Because in that universe, Shazam looks like what Billy Batson would grow up into.
I think that's what he grows up into in most incarnations that they tinker around with.
Did you read the Dark Knight version of him?
He's very strange in that.
In the Dark Knight version, Billy Batson is dead.
Oh.
But Captain Marvel is still alive.
Oh.
So if he ever summons his lightning again,
that's
cease
the end
to
of
exist.
Captain Marvel. That's weird.
Because they're separate entities.
That's a far more interesting concept. I think I prefer that one.
So yeah, are they separate entities or are the same entity is one of the interesting things. So they did the same with Marvel's Captain Marvel, except it was boring and nobody liked it.
Nobody cared. Yeah, so Billy Batson Captain Marvel was brought back in the 70s. And this is where Dr. Sylvana, he's played by Mark Strong in the film, came in. It turns out that he had somehow managed to capture the Marvel family and keep them in a stasis bubble, the suspendosphere. And it thawed enough when they get too close to the sun, because his weird Sylvana family are a bunch of pups, and he got smacked by his own son. It is Sylvanian families. Yeah. Interestingly enough, Sylvanian families got the idea from reading 1977's Captain Marvel reboot.
I think the Sylvanian families predates that, but anyway, go on.
No, I'm joking. It's only a ruse, Michael. And so they thaw out, and then the Marvel family are back in DC, and DC kind of introduced them as a whole thing. He's like I said, he's gone through many iterations. I think the biggest problem that people have is he's a real Boy Scout. I mean, everybody calls Superman the Boy Scout of comics. Nothing compared to this guy. This guy is just a kid with very straight down the line morals, and that's how it works. until
Yeah.
Jeff Johns got his hands on him for the New 52 reboot.
Oh.
And he tried to make him edgy.
Oh.
And it looks like most of the inspiration for the movie Shazam has been taken from this New 52 reboot.
Yeah, but not too edgy. Like
Reboot. He's still a kid.
He's an orphan teen, and he wants to get a beer.
Yeah, I think it's pretty normal. But in the Jeff Johns reboot, he is a foster kid that bounces around from house to house. He he doesn't like bullies. That's the kind of character line
Like
that we
Captain
have
America.
for that one. And the Wizard Shazam has been searching for a pure soul forever and has never found one.
The only one he found was Black Adam.
Until, and that turned out to be a real bad decision.
Yeah.
Until Billy Batson had a conversation with him and said that you're never going to find that. It's a huge mistake. It's amazing that no one ever had that conversation with him before, but there you go. And so he is given the powers of Shazam. There's been a lot of retconning going on in the New 52 reboot. The Wizard is now black. He is traditionally he is traditionally represented as a very godlike
Classic
kind of
wizard.
classic god,
Classic
big long beard.
Odin, Gandalf the White.
But anyway, they scrapped that. He's actually, quite interestingly, he's far more Aboriginal in the reboot. So he's like one of the oldest tribes on Earth. He's one of those people. He comes from the fictional DC nation of Kandak. He's one of the elders of that tribe.
Oh, like
and
Black Adam.
He was the holder of lightning. And there were several Eternals, or they're kind of like centuries of the Eternals. So interestingly enough,
Angelina
coming back to the
Jolie.
Eternals. No, she's not in this one. But anyway, the rest of them die out, so he's forced to find an emissary to uphold and stop evil from taking over the world. And it looks like they've kept that, which you can say his
Digimon
name for me. Digimon Hansu, thank you. It looks like they've kept that representation very well. Ancient
Benjamin.
old wizard, yeah.
Talking to your mic, you're talking past it.
Am I talking past it?
Benjamin,
Sorry.
I've done you a huge favour.
Yeah.
Because did you know, Benjamin, in the 70s, Shazam had a TV show?
Oh, fuck.
And I've done you the huge favour of watching a lot of it.
Thanks.
It wasn't good.
It probably wasn't.
It's a kids' show.
Oh.
It was made by Filmation, who you might remember from making the Ghostbusters animated series.
Oh.
But it's live action.
Oh.
And like every classic 70s TV show, it starts in media res, in the middle of events, Ben.
Dun, 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 dun.
So the pilot episode isn't an origin story. There is no origin story.
Excellent.
The origin story is told in the opening credits.
Yeah.
Billy Batson was given the power of the seven... There is no the Wizard Shazam. The Billy Batson
Oh,
is
the council of...
the seven elders. So it's Solomon and Hercules.
Yeah.
But he only ever talks to them in the form of an animated scene. They're animated. Oh. They're a cartoon, but they're a still image. Only the mouths move. So he gets summoned before them with this kind of weird computer that goes 70s computer noises. Beep, beep, doop, boop, beep, beep, doop. And he's like, oh, the elders are summoning me. And then he goes and talks to them.
Sake.
So anyway, Billy Batson is a kid, right?
Billy Batson.
Yes, very good. And he travels around America.
That America.
In what the Americans would call an RV or a Winnebago. What I believe we would call a motorhome or a caravan.
Sad.
And he travels around with his friend. Look, I'm going to pronounce it once the way they pronounce it, and then I'm going to pronounce it the right way. He travels around America with his friend Mentor.
As in mentor.
Mentor, yeah. And he's an older gentleman who might be a bit of a wizard.
From the Odyssey.
He might turn out to be...
Is it Mentor from the Odyssey?
He might turn out to be... But he introduces him and he says, this is my friend Mentor. And no one says, that's
a weird name.
Weird name for a man. What are you doing in that motor van with that kid?
Has anyone checked this kid's credential? Like, are we okay? Do you want to talk?
So they travel around America basically looking for things to butt into. And
it's like Scooby-Doo and the gang without a
little,
dog or
a little bit.
60s hijinks.
Yeah, but just before they butt into something, they get summoned by the bibbidi-boop machine. And it goes, bibbidi-bibbidi-boop, bibbidi-boop-bibbidi-boop. And then Mentor says, I think the elders are summoning you, Billy. And Billy goes, oh, that's right, Mentor. I'll go and talk to them now. The fucking assholes. So... He goes, right, and the elders, who are just still drawings, remember, with movie mouths,
Movie mouths.
And they say something like, Billy, soon you may meet a woman who is doing something for the wrong reasons.
Whoa, man.
And you should help her. And then he goes, okay, I'll try. And then it cuts back. And every time he says to Mentor, what did Solomon mean when he said I might meet a woman who's doing something for the wrong reason?
Well, Billy.
Yeah, and then and then the Mentor says, well, Billy, I could tell you, but then I'd have to fuck you. Oh, no, sorry, yeah.
I mean.
I could tell you, but I think the elders want you to figure that for yourself.
Oh, God.
So then, you'll notice, Ben, I haven't said he turns into Shazam at any stage. So they go and they meet these people. The first episode, Ben, is about a teen who is being peer pressured into joyriding and stealing cars with his mates.
That son of a bitch.
Right? And then Billy Batson says, hey, don't do that, you son of a bitch. And then they do it, and the car goes off a cliff.
And it's a classic.
Yeah. And then, Ben, he has to turn into Shazam. So he says Shazam, and he becomes Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel's very famous in the universe. When everyone sees him, they say, oh my God, it's Captain Marvel. He's coming. Watch out for him. And then he rescues them and so on. And he pulls them off the cliff.
Yeah.
And then, at the end of the episode, Captain Marvel comes on screen and teaches us the lesson.
More you know.
Yeah, he's like, this week we learned that you should always be true to yourself and don't follow pressure of people who don't have your best interest at heart.
Unless you're a dirty child molesting mentor.
And they never say, like, he just goes, he drives around America, like, offering teens a lift. And they never cover the most important lesson, which is don't get into that motor van with that old man and that teen.
I'd say there's a couple of lads in America in the 70s that pulled that one off successfully. Hey, you want to save America?
Yeah, get in the motor van.
Get in the motor van. What a grim end to an episode.
It's not very good, Ben, the series.
It's awful.
The worst thing about it is it's 70s TV, so it looks like it was filmed through a potato.
It probably was. New potato lenses from Technicolor.
Oh, very, very interesting, very weird series. Issues 3 and 4 is a 2-episode cliffhanger. I've choked on my own bile. It's a 2-episode cliffhanger about drug dealing.
Oh, what a classic!
Yeah, but what? Anyway, where was I going? I
don't know.
In this series, they seem to be separate entities.
Okay,
and Billy Batson is very specifically not allowed summon forth Shazam, Captain Marvel.
When
He's
Mentor's
called Captain
in the room because Mentor doesn't want to get pummeled. Stop fucking the kid,
you son of a bitch. He can't summon him forth unless it's dire need. So they're always like the car breaks down and they have to go to a nearby gas station. That's what the Americans call a petrol station. And Billy and Mentor says, wouldn't it be useful if we could summon Captain Marvel? And lightning flashes in the sky, and they say, we know we can only do it when we absolutely have to, and that's the thing.
That's how we keep yourself safe and not pummeled.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it, to be honest.
Yeah, I'll stay away from that. That sounds awful.
It's not one of the better ones.
That sounds awful. So yeah, that's look, we'll see it next week, Michael.
Yeah.
And,
Benjamin,
we've done
a very misogynist thing here. We haven't talked about either of the lady Captain Marvels.
Well, we've talked about Captain Marvel before. Oh, you mean in Marvel or in?
Well, we didn't talk about
DC.
We didn't talk about Mary Marvel.
Yeah, Mary Marvel. Mary Marvel, not Miss
Mary
Marvel.
who got sexy for a while, if you remember.
Yeah, she wore a black cheerleader outfit for a while.
Yeah,
with
she
a
turned
yellow
evil.
thing. Yeah. We didn't get around to Black Adam.
No.
Or Dr. Sylvana.
No, we didn't.
Or Mr. Mind.
We didn't get around to Miss Marvel or the second Captain Marvel.
Or Mr. Talkie Ton.
Monica Rambeau.
No, we didn't get around to any of it.
No.
So look, we failed.
Monica Rambeau, Ben, just while we're very quickly on the topic, she is in the current series, Marvel's Avengers No Road Home. And they're really developing her as a character. It looks like they might be setting her up for part 4 of Marvel Cinematic Universe.
The only box that was not being ticked there was a strong black female lead.
Jesus, Ben. Remember, we made a deal earlier to not bring race into it again.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah. But in the comic books, there is no history between her and Carol Danvers. They're not connected in any way. She gets her powers in a totally unrelated accident.
She's a super vampire killer, isn't she? She got a sun power of some kind.
she can turn into any form of electromagnetic radiation.
Yeah, that'll be
and sunlight is one form of electromagnetic radiation.
That'll be it. So
she's very powerful.
Yeah,
and immortal.
Oh, sure, look.
So you could almost call her an eternal, if you will.
Oh!
See what they're saying, Ben? Do you know what I'm saying?
Zoom. So, what do we learn, guys? It's okay to misrepresent genders and ignore women. No, I'm just kidding. That's not the message of today's podcast. We will get around to talking about Monica Rambeau.
Don't get into a van.
Don't get into a van with a bloody lad who tells you he's going to help you save America.
Yeah.
And certainly don't believe him when he says, yeah, don't summon that superhero powerhouse unless you absolutely have to, Billy. Okay? Don't do it.
You're a bad bloke.
Right? He's a real bad bloke. That mentor's a bad bloke. Contact your congressman to get him taken off the road in that RV today.
Probably dead now.
Hopefully. Dirty bastard. That's it from us.
Wrap us up there, Ben.
As always, lads, we are on Instagram. We are on iTunes. We're on Spotify. We're on YouTube. We're really anywhere where social media might be housed.
Social media and podcasts. Look, Ben, at this stage, people are probably best off just Googling us.
Yeah, we are actually the top result. Woohoo!
Yay.
But only if you search specifically Michael and Benjamin's podcast.
Yeah.
So check us out. Let us know what you think of Shazam.
Who's your favourite Captain Marvels?
Who's your favourite pop culture mom here
Yeah.
on Mother's Day? Happy day to all the mothers.
Although it was yesterday when you're listening to this, so hope you had a good one.
Hope you had a good one.
Hope your children didn't ignore you.
A ring-a-ding-ding. And if they did, that's life. Children are shite, aren't they? That's it from us. Bye.
Right, bye.